You're going to say A8, right?
That's correct. Correct. That knight march from A8 to C7 to E6 to F4 to H3. I mean, talk about trekking across the Sahara. I mean, that's an amazing thing for this knight to do. And one thing, when you look at Gary play chess 960, when you watch him do this, his ability to coordinate his pieces is remarkable, no matter what the position. He's like a cat. You throw them up in the air, twist them body, whatever you do, and they just spin around and land right on their feet. That's how Gary handles chess 960. I'm always so impressed by watching at the end of the day how well coordinated. He might make mistakes, tactical errors later. He might spend a little bit too much time because he's out of form. But invariably, his ability to coordinate his pieces and make them look like a classical position is remarkable.
Absolutely. The Cossacks are coming, knight H3. By the way, if you compare youth versus age here for a moment, on the time, it's 3 minutes to 7:50. So Gary outpacing the youngster quite dramatically, Jen.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Alireza has more time, right? But seriously, yeah, I don't know. I think Gary's probably done some really great training for this tournament. And he analyzed his weaknesses from the other matches that he played, where he played fantastic in the opening and middle game, but often ran into troubles with his time pressure in the middle game and end game. So, yeah, I think he did a very close study of that, is this round certainly indicating it's a goal of his to stay ahead on the clock. We just saw an exchange on E5. And now
we just
the knight's so good on C4, so I'm ready to take with the bishop. And my main goal is to get my knight to H1, though, so that we can get our knight from A8 to
H1. Quite a goal. Okay, well, let's see. Bishop takes E5 makes a lot of sense. The pawn on G3 is hanging, the knight on C3. More or less, you're kind of obliging me to drop back with the knight on E2 to defend the pawn. Now, I feel the initiative is clearly in Black's hands. But how to follow up? What do we do?
I mean, I think that Black's advantage is based on so many things. I mean, the main one is that our pieces are just all so much better than yours, except maybe the bishop on C8. But it's like our knight on C4 and our bishop on E5 are very well placed.
Exactly.
You would struggle to name me one well-placed piece, right? I mean, I can't think of one.
I mean, the bishop on C1 is doing a good defensive job, but that's where you stop. You don't go any further than that. But in terms of mobility, in terms of squares that the pieces are attacking, no question, Black's active pieces really make a great impression. I was just thinking that, from White's point of view, White might be in time to play some defensive reactions, like that was supposed to be bishop G2, bishop G2, knight F4 to try to limit the damage. There's only one weakness, pawn on E3, maybe something like rook on D8 to E8 and attack the pawn. By the way, Gary's taking a long time on his recapture. Now, in view of the move F3, F4, he's going to take, but he must be giving serious consideration to knight captures as well. Jen.
Maybe, yeah. Or bishop E5, because is it possible that he could be even worried at some point, like about bishop E5, like an idea like G4 trapping the knight on H3? The thing is that when you play G4, C3 can always be taken, and then bishop G2 could be met by knight G5, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, by the way, we do have moves on the board. Bishop takes E5 was met immediately, by the way, by the move F4, pleading with Gary, go ahead, take my knight, double up my pawns, and I'm going to try to suggest this knight is stranded.
That's a really committal idea. That's so
totally
committal. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's I mean, because bishop C3 really almost barks to be played. Like, this is a move I want to play, but you must admit that knight sitting on H3 will have nowhere to go. Although you could play G5 and then G4, not what you want to do, and give that F pawn potential call itself passed, but at least you can protect your knight and not have to worry about it actually being trapped in the. I mean, it's not what I really want to do, but I'm just saying you're not going to lose any material.
Exactly. A G5, G4 just to cement the knight looks really good to me. And again, this pawn on E3, I mean, it just looks like, man, that is one of the best pawns to target you'll ever get. I mean, this bishop on C1 is not doing great. By the way, Gary, a man who loves his bishops, like so many world champions before him. You said bark. I mean, I'm with you there. I thought bishop C3 had bark and bite. Bishop G7, just saying, okay, I'm with Jennifer. I've got good pieces. All my pieces are good, including my dark square bishop. Bishop G7.
Yeah, I like it in a way because also he does have the time edge, and he can always play bishop C3 later. Like, is White gonna actually play knight E2 here? Maybe, but then if you play knight E2, one of the problems is E3 becomes weaker because it's harder to defend it because you've got your knight in the way of a move like rook E1.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what Gary is saying. Like, just put the pressure, because obviously when you're playing against somebody in time pressure, you know, if you play bishop C3, they got their move ready.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, because this pawn on E3 is so desperately weak, do we have time to play the move E3, E4 and get rid of our weakness? I mean, again, there's a lot of tricks based on the idea that, okay, now you could take the knight and take the pawn and maybe end up with a knight F2 trick just to put it on the board. You've got some position where I'm just trying to show you how the tables could easily turn. You don't have bishop D5 check, but the knight forks the rook and the bishop, and this is probably something that White would prefer to avoid. So maybe you have to take first, and we get some position like this.
White does have the two bishops, but Black's knight is still a question mark. And it seems as though we have seen the line G5, as we mentioned earlier. G5 has been played in the game after rook to E1. He played G5 and bishop G2. That knight on H3 has got their attention. Both of the players are thinking about that knight. By the way, you could look at some boards, not just a single board. As you see here, this game is very rich. But if you go to Dominguez versus Nakamura, for example, he's
really turned it around in the last few moves.
Amazing.
As you see, just this maneuver B3 and bishop A3. There's one piece that we didn't like before that's now great. And look at the rook on E5, monstrous rook. Now that the dark squared bishops are traded and the C4 square is covered by the B3 pawn.
But you said the dark square bishops were traded. In fact, Gary ended up playing the move bishop takes D4 earlier, and that removed the E3 weakness. And that, remember, he had a chance to play bishop takes C3 and wreck the pawn structure.
Exactly.
Here he played bishop D4 and of helped the pawn structure. Of this, talk about assisting the needy. This is a move that White was like, not only did you straighten out his pawn structure, you also open up the E file for the rook, giving him the E5 square. This is fantastic position. But we do have a result, and it is Wesley So who has won that position you guys love so much.
Big time turnaround in that game.
So well coordinated.
Let's just see the ending of that. I mean, we're seeing a lot of turnarounds in these games, guys.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it. Ferrugia only has 13 seconds left. Maybe you want to hop to the current position, Yaz, because he's got like 10 seconds left, and you'll see that
this is the current position.
Rook H4, right? So now G2 would allow rook takes H3 check. But Gary didn't do that. He just played knight to F2. And how are you going to stop the G pawn? You can't stop it.
I've got to go down, and then it's not that easy. It's not.
And then I play King F3.
King F3 gets checked.
Oh, on F7.
Yes.
But now I have, if rook G7, I have knight G4.
Oh no, you have king. You have King E2. Oh no, this is bad.
In the game, I'm going to make a queen.
This is it. Kasparov has done it.
Gary.
He has given the youngster a lesson and showing that, hey,